Part 1. Saint Benedict and Benedictine Spirituality. What is Benedictine spirituality? A woman who once inquired about becoming an oblate was told that this meant the offering of oneself. "I'd rather offer myself to Christ," she told me, "than to Saint Benedict." She was right. Benedict admonishes all of us who follow his rule to offer ourselves to Christ. In the prologue, we are encouraged to do battle for the true King, Christ the Lord. At the end of the rule, in chapter 72, he says, "Let us prefer nothing whatever to Christ, and may he bring us all together to everlasting life." The entire rule of Saint Benedict is centered on Christ and the Christian life. That's why everyone, not just monks and nuns, can benefit from following it. Benedict added nothing new to Christian doctrine. He preached gospel values applied in an orderly fashion to everyday life. His way of living is similar to that of the early Christians who are described in the Acts of the Apostles. They devoted themselves to holding all things in common, breaking bread together, and praising the Lord. Benedict is focused on Christ in prayer, work, and in familial relationships. Seek Christ, Benedict insists, but he realizes that you don't have to go very far to find him. His image is reflected in ourselves and in everyone else. St. Gregory the Great tells of a hermit named Martin, whose foot was bound by a chain fastened to a rock. When Benedict heard of this, he sent one of his monks to tell Martin that he should be bound to Christ instead of a chain of iron. Christ is the chain that binds us, and we are all bound to one another. We live our common calling in community, in family. Benedictine spirituality is not just Jesus and me. It's the two of us and everybody else in whom Jesus is present, the people with whom I live and work, the people to whom I'm related by blood, and those for whom I have a responsibility. The stranger, the newcomer, welcome them also as Christ, Benedict says. Benedict teaches all of us how to live together, how to get along with each other regardless of our differences. Benedict calls his community a school of the Lord's service. He wants us to learn from one another. He also refers to his community as a workshop where we use the tools of good works. These are the 10 Commandments and the teachings of Jesus. The asceticism under which we live is nothing harsh, nothing burdensome, it says in the prologue. Although burdens may enter our lives, we aren't to go looking for them or to create them for ourselves. Moderation and balance, even in the saving of our souls, constitute the ascetical life prescribed by Benedict. But if we do find this life difficult in the beginning, he guarantees this in the prologue of the rule. As we progress in this way of life and in faith, we shall run on the path of God's commandments, our hearts overflowing with the inexpressible delight of love. The rule helps us to avoid certain things we might stumble over while on our way through life. Some ascetics before Benedict's time appear to us now as having been rather extreme in their practices. Martin, the hermit whom Benedict corrected, was clinging to an outdated and excessive form of eremitical asceticism. He was following in the tradition of chain wearers like Saint Sabinus, who was so weighted down that he had to walk on all fours. Martin, of course, couldn't walk far from the rock to which his foot was attached. Another desert monk, instead of wearing chains, bound himself with the root of an oak tree. Alcoholics Anonymous would call that looking for an easier, softer way. There were also browsers who went around the desert searching for patches of grass to eat, and statics who stood perfectly still for days at a time, and even slept while upright.